Pokemon Go might be planning to ruin the best event of the year. In fact, this is one of the best events Pokemon Go has ever had in the history of the game, which makes this whole thing much more interesting. To understand what we're talking about today, you need to understand Niantic's history of making key events and features kind of worse over time. Specific examples include community days, research breakthrough boxes, PvP rewards. I will say recent community day events have been awesome due to the event bonuses and like extra features brought out during them, so that's been nice. But there was a long streak where the quality of community days were just steady decreasing. And mainly it was due to the quality of the Pokemon being released as Comm Day Pokemon, and we still kind of struggle with that. We went from getting new and hyped and useful shinies every single event to getting already released shiny Pokemon and Pokemon that were like super PvP focused, which is fine, but like a majority of the player base doesn't play PvP. And speaking of PvP, the legendary encounter rates in the PvP tracks felt a super nerf. Silph Road collected thousands of data points to find the accurate odds of legendary encounter rates in the Go Battle League. And there were massive nerfs to those rates over the past year. And the research breakthrough box is something that I've been complaining about for years, so we just won't get into it. But basically the encounters you used to get from them were insane, like shiny legendary Pokemon, and they slowly degraded over time to what we have today, which is like Starmie, non-shiny Starmie. But I will say this month we do have multiple epic Pokemon in the research breakthrough box, including a new shiny. So honestly, thinking about it, maybe things are turning around for the game. I can only hope so for the sake of the event we'll be talking about today, because nerfing it would be a huge L for the overall community and the game as a whole. And what are we talking about? The Pokemon GO Hoenn Tour event and all future tour events. The tour events began 2 years ago with the Kanto Tour, and it was one of the best Pokemon Go events we've ever had by far. There were 9 new shiny Pokemon released, including Mew, some really cool features like getting to pick between red and green version, which impacted your spawns, shiny regionals and raids, rotating spawn hours, the whole shebang. And the shiny events were good. And I mean really good. Like I played the entire day, and I think when it was all said and done, I had something like 40 plus shiny Pokemon. It was one of the most fun events I've ever played in 6 years of this game. And the Johto Tour was no different, offering some insane features, like shiny wild legendary Pokemon, which was just incredible, plus shiny unknown on the incense, and a total of 9 new shiny Pokemon to hunt. And we got the Masterwork Special Research, which gave us Apex Shadow Lugia and Apex Shadow Ho-Oh, which are to this day some of the coolest Pokemon ever released. And overall, I think I was able to get like over 30 shiny Pokemon during that event, which was also awesome. I did play super hard, but that was a good haul and a really fun event day. Now this brings us to the next tour event, the Hoenn Tour happening in 2023. And why do I think they're gonna ruin it? One word: free. Typically the tour events are not free. The Johto and Kanto Tour were both $12 USD each to play. But for the first time in tour history, the Hoenn Tour will actually be free globally. Huge W, right? Now everyone can play the tour event regardless of if they can afford the ticket or not. Well, I wouldn't be too sure, because we've seen this before. Pokemon Go Fest 2020 was one of the best global events we have ever had, hands down, by far, no contest. And it was the first global Go Fest event ever. Then in 2021, the global Go Fest concept returned. The biggest difference, the global event had a paid and free aspect to it, which was great because everyone got to feel and participate in the Go Fest hype, not just the paying players. And what was the biggest noticeable difference between the paid version and the free version? The shiny rates. People who paid for the event had much higher shiny rates, which made sense. Now, there's obviously more to this game and the events than just shiny Pokemon, but let's not kid ourselves here. They're the biggest aspect of this game by far. But it was fine because if you paid for the event, you got good shinies. And if you didn't pay for the event, you still got to participate in a cool free extra event. And a year later, the same thing went down for Pokemon Go Fest 2022. There was a paid and free global aspect. And for the first time in 3 years, the iconic in-person Go Fest events returned. Now, there was a massive change made here that will set the tone for the rest of the video and for the future of the game. Shiny rates felt much higher for the in-person Go Fest events over the global events. During the global Pokemon Go Fest event, there were kind of a lot of complaints about shiny rates, especially when comparing the event to the previous 2 global Go Fests. And what was the reason? Well, I explained it in this video 6 months ago.
Pokemon Go Fest 2022. What happened? What happened to Go Fest? Go Fest 2022, it just seems, I don't know, it seems underwhelming. The shiny rates obviously weren't that great on day 1, and they're definitely worse on day 2. I don't know, it just seemed like there could have been done way more done with this Go Fest. But back during quarantine, we didn't know if the global Pokemon Go Fest events were even gonna happen anymore, because before 2020, it was only in-person Go Fest events. Because at those events, it wasn't unheard of to get like, you know, like 30, 40, well, 30, 40 shinies was a lot. Like that was a lot of shinies to get in a day. But still, I don't know, it was good, you know, it felt satisfying, it was exciting. But also some problem, I think a big problem that we have is we're spoiled, baby. So I don't know, I think Pokemon goes in a weird spot to where like we've just had it so good good for so long that, you know, playing your arse off for 8 hours and only getting 10, 15, 20 shinies, that's like almost unacceptable, you know, nowadays. But again, what I think is going down is they're sort of semi-nerfing the global Pokemon Go Fest events to make the in-person ones way better and more incentivized. They want people at the in-person events rather than just playing globally, which obviously that, you know, only a tiny amount of the player base can actually make it to a global event, and that just makes sense. I'm not trying to justify any of this, I'm just saying what I think is going on.
So in an attempt to make the in-person events more exciting, the global ones were nerfed. And I think we're about to see the same exact thing happen to my favorite events, the tour events. For the first time ever, next year's Hoenn Tour event will feature an in-person event, an official in-person event in Las Vegas, which will be happening on February 18th and 19th, again in Las Vegas, which I will be at, so if you're going, I'll see you there. And on the Hoenn Tour official website, we might be getting a bit of a sneak peek to the dreaded potential nerf to the tour events. On the Shining Surprises section, it explains that trainers in Las Vegas will have increased luck in encountering shiny Pokemon. And even when looking at the global gameplay tab, it explains at the bottom that the in-person Las Vegas event will be enhanced compared to the global event, saying reports are also showing that trainers who attend will have special bonuses and an increased chance of encountering shiny Pokemon. And here's why this makes me nervous. There are only 2 different Hoenn Tour events this year, the paid in-person Las Vegas event and the free global event. This is instead of a paid global event and a free global event, which means the only global version of the Hoenn Tour next year will most likely have pretty disappointing shiny rates compared to the in-person Las Vegas event. And as I explained about the global Go Fest events, this kind of makes sense. In-person events should be more exciting to play at and have higher shiny rates. People have to pay a lot of money to travel to them, and it just looks good for the game. Pokemon Go is the only game that has the honestly super unique and super cool feature of being able to host massive in-game events in real-life locations. So making these in-person events like extra epic is really important to make Pokemon Go stand out against other games. So that part is like kind of fine by me. Also, I do get to go to these events, so obviously I'm a bit biased. What's not fine is the fact that I think the tour events are gonna start being treated like Go Fests. The coolest part about the tour events is the fact that they felt like Go Fest events, but were global and everyone could participate. And even though they were paid, that was fine by most people. It's pretty normal for a person in today's world to spend $12 on a hobby or something they find super duper enjoyable. So taking that away and replacing it with a free event that is like hyper nerfed might not be the best move forward. Again, I played the Kanto and Johto events hard and got over 40 shinies during Kanto and over 30 during Johto. I do not expect to see those kind of shiny rates return for the Hoenn Tour and future tour events unless you attend the live in-person event in Las Vegas and wherever they'll host it for the future ones, which obviously most people in the world will not be able to attend. So even though the global part of the event will be free instead of $12, I anticipate a really big nerf to the shiny rate and a sharp decline in overall player sentiment and satisfaction during the event. Unfortunately, I think the days of super exciting, massively hyped tour events are behind us. Now, these are all predictions and we won't technically know until we get in and play the event, but let me know down in the comments, what do you think about all this? And what do you expect to see in terms of event experience during the Hoenn Tour event of 2023? If you found this video interesting, check out the other 2 on screen, they're just as fun, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.